Hello, and welcome to the Ramblatory Nonsense podcast. I am your host and sole member, Sean Brown. So, this podcast, this is something I've thought about for a while now. I often have things I want to talk about regarding games, movies, music, and I don't really know where to talk about them or how to talk about them. I've tried multiple times to have a blog, and I just can't seem to keep up with it. There was one time in the past that I tried to keep an audio log, I guess you could say, a few years ago, and I kept up with it for a while. The only reason I stopped doing it is because the little voice recorder I was using stopped working. So I didn't continue with it. But I've been wanting to do this again for a while now, and I just haven't gotten around to doing it. This first episode is going to be about the Elder Scrolls series of games by Bethesda Softworks. This episode, in a little bit here when you hear it, was actually recorded back in, actually, New Year's Day of 2010. I recorded what you're going to hear for a completely different purpose. I was planning to do a series of, I guess you could call them podcasts, of me talking about playing Oblivion. I was going to play Oblivion and talk about the stuff I did in the game that week or something like that. Then I never ended up doing it. But the first episode, I mainly just talked about my experiences with the series so far, mostly Morrowind. And I figure if I'm going to do this podcast, I might as well include that in my first episode since it's already there and it's just sitting there. So, here we go. This is the Elder Scrolls series, my thoughts and ramblings and nonsense. My first experience with the Elder Scrolls series was with Morrowind in 2002. Now, I know a lot of the old school Elder Scrolls fans will frown upon this because a lot of them think Morrowind is not very good compared to Daggerfall or whatever. But anyways, I was really looking forward to Morrowind. And I read everything I could get my hands on. Magazine previews, interviews, lots of stuff on the internet, tons and tons of previews and everything, just everything I could find. I downloaded every video, which at the time I had dial-up, which, yeah, that wasn't much fun. And, I was just obsessed. I have never been as obsessed with a game that was coming out, or have I been since then? And, it was sad, it was crazy, but, I was so obsessed that I pre-ordered, my first ever pre-order as well. I pre-ordered the collector's edition of the game, which, came in a special full-size black box. This was back when they were just starting to make the smaller boxes, and this came in a full-size box, which, people were happy about because a lot of people didn't like those little boxes, which everybody does now, or maybe they just have to deal with it. But it came with the full-size box, which I've destroyed and thrown away since then. Map that came with the game anyways, the manual, of course, soundtrack CD, let me think, a art book, which was called The Art of Morrowind, and a little pewter figurine of one of the Ordinators. I think that's how you pronounce it. I pre-ordered from Amazon. That was the first and last time I've ever done that because they were late. They were late by, I think I was supposed to get it, I forget what day of the week the release date was, but I think it was towards the end of the week, and I didn't get it till the following Monday. I was really pissed off. But because it was so late, I started a website to collect links to reviews of Morrowind. Yeah, it was pretty sad how obsessed I was. I had every time a new link was posted to a review, I would put it on my site, and I spread my site around to everybody else who was obsessed and hadn't bought the game yet, and I had more, I was more of an aggregate than even game rankings or anything else back then, because I was just so obsessed. And finally I got the game. Pissed off because it was late, but I was so happy when I got it. I didn't install the game right away. The first thing I did, being such a nerd, is I put in the soundtrack CD, turned it on, and opened up the book, the Art of Morrowind, and I read through it and looked at all the pictures, and that was my first experience with the game. Was looking through that book while listening to the soundtrack. In fact, in my mind, I don't remember it being a book. I remember sort of the images and the sound. It's like a video in my head. I don't even remember it as a book and a CD. It's kind of strange. Anyways, I finally installed the game. My computer, it ran the game, but not very well. Not very well in the big cities, and my video card could not display the water. Oh, the water. Everybody was obsessed with the water in Morrowind because it had, full reflections and all that. Well, my video card couldn't do it. And that was disappointing, but I ended up not caring. In fact, in later years, when I've played the game recently, I have turned off the pretty water. I don't like it. I've been spoiled by even newer games that have better water, and the Morrowind water looks really fake. It looks like a mirror. It doesn't look like water. I don't know. I actually prefer the non-pixel shaded water. I don't know, I'm weird. Anyways, so I had the collector's edition, and I put the map on the wall right by my computer. Big nerd, see? And then I played the game. Now, this was my first experience with hype ruining something for me. Like, if you watch too many previews for a movie and you're really, really, really excited, and you read a lot of reviews and stuff, and you go to the movie, you're probably going to be disappointed because you set yourself up for it. Whereas if you go in knowing nothing, and it's a good movie, you'll probably like it a lot. But, yeah, it's just a weird thing. Especially with me. I have become obsessed with not learning things. I've gone on full, blackout, not learning things beforehand with games, movies, whatever. I prefer not to know now. I think Morrowind was probably the game that taught me that hype is bad, I guess. It can be. I don't know. But the game did a lot of things really good, and just not all the things I expected. For instance, even with all the stuff I had read beforehand, I didn't realize that all of the dialogue in the game was going to be text. They talked about having voice actors, but what it was is you walked up to one of the characters in the game, and they had a little line they said when you walked up towards them, or just past them, and, they said something like, hello, whatever, and then whenever you talked to them, it was just text. And they also stayed in the same spot day and night. They didn't go to bed. Some of them walked around, but they walked around in just a little, like a circuit, And I don't know, I was expecting way too much out of this game. It was only 2002, and I was expecting a lot. But, yeah, I don't know. Anyways, there are other things. the other thing about the NPCs was that, yeah, they were just signposts, and you know, they provided you information, but they didn't seem like people. They seemed like just this thing you went up to, like a signpost, or like a sci-fi signpost. You go up and push a button, and it gives you information, and you push a couple other things, and then you go on to someone else, or do whatever else. I don't know. But yeah, that's okay. It wasn't a big deal. It kind of put me off for a while, but then I got into the game later, and I don't know. The voice acting thing was probably the biggest part for me. I was a fan of I'm a fan of the Gabriel Knight series, and that the first game came out in 1993, and it had full voice acting. Metal Gear Solid came out in 99. It had full voice acting on a console, but I realized Morrowind, much bigger game and lots of dialogue, so they can't exactly have everything spoken. But they did it in Oblivion, so, well, whatever. Anyways, so yeah, my first character I think was an orc. I don't remember exactly, but I remember people talking on the internet about how you shouldn't go to your first mission was to go to Balmora, the main city, and meet up with some guy for the main quest. And I remember a lot of people saying you shouldn't take the Silt Strider there, you should walk there. Now, the Silt Striders are, I guess you could say, the main method of transportation in the game, in the island of Vardenfell, if you want to pronounce it that way, I don't know how it's pronounced, Morrowind. They're these big, giant insects, and in their back, there's a hole been carved out, and there's a guy that can sit up there and drive it while the other people sit in the back. Well, in all the previews and stuff, no one ever really talked about the fact that you don't actually get to ride in those. You don't actually get to sit in them or do anything. You get to see them standing there, but if you go up to use one and talk to the driver, you automatically load into the area you were going to drive to. You just show up there. And so that was another disappointment. But anyways, a lot of people on the internet are saying, don't take the Silt Strider to the city, walk there, because it's just more interesting. So I walked, and I came to there's a first little town that you walk past. I think it's pronounced Pelagade. I'm not really sure. But that was where I had the most fun in the game, as I went and basically figured out what I could and couldn't do as far as stealing things from people. I must have spent 2 hours in this shop just messing with things, going upstairs and stealing stuff, and seeing if the merchant that was downstairs who lived in the house realized I stole anything, and he didn't. And then stealing stuff in front of him and seeing him react and attack me and all that kind of stuff. And then in the inn, I went upstairs, and there was this, I forget, some NPC that was a woman, I don't know. Anyway, she was a jerk. I talked to her, and she was a jerk, so I thought, screw this, I'm going to kill her. So I killed her. It was a hard fight, too. I was level 1, I didn't have really any skills. And I killed her, and then I freaked out. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I just killed someone that I don't know what they were there for. I don't know. I didn't really have a good reason to kill her other than she was rude. But, I was playing an orc. I figured she's rude. But then I was worried. Should I have killed this woman? What if I screwed up the game? So I went and posted on the official forums and asked about it. And that was when I really learned, even though I had been reading all the previews and all this stuff, that was when I really learned that there are so many possibilities in the game. Because that person I killed, they they're involved in something, some quest or something, but you can kill them and keep going. There's no reason to stop and go, like, reload a save game and not kill them. You can just do what you want. And the people that you shouldn't kill in order to... I mean, if you kill someone that's important to the main quest of the game, it will give you a message saying, blah, 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 you shouldn't have done that, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so as long as you don't get that message, you can kill anyone you want, do whatever you want. So after I learned all this stuff in that little town, I started just running around. I was stealing stuff from people like crazy. I was killing people randomly if they were mean to me. And then I stopped having fun. I started making new characters and starting over and over, trying out the different skills, trying out everything. And I just wasn't having fun. And then I realized that the reason I wasn't having fun was because I was gaming the game. I was basically cheating, but not cheating. It was everything you can freely do in the game, like going into a building and when the guards are out of the area, stealing everyone blind, and then selling it to a merchant. Sometimes the same merchant that owned it. I mean, that you could do that, but it takes away all the fun. So I that was when I learned I had to actually role play to enjoy the game. Sorry, I need a drink. That was when I learned you have to role play. You have to pretend, I guess. You have to constrain yourself. You can't. If you're someone that can have fun just doing what I was talking about, stealing everything, killing everything, whatever. If you can have fun that way, fine. I don't care. Have fun. Play the game, whatever. But for me, and for I think most people, it's not fun unless you roleplay, unless you get into the character that you're playing and, act like that character would if this were a real world. So I had already learned where a lot of cool items were that I could steal right away. And then when I realized that I should roleplay, I went and acted as if, I had never seen those items. I didn't know they were there. I had never been to these places. And so it made the game a lot more fun. And I still, to this day, I have never finished the main quest in Morrowind. I still have not seen the entire island of Morrowind, but I have spent many hours exploring and just basically playing around in the sandbox, the playground that is Morrowind. And, I had some problems, like the issues I said about the NPCs being signposts and different things. Sometimes they'd take me out of the game, sometimes they wouldn't. I could get over it sometimes if I was really doing the roleplay thing and pretending and all this, whatever. But sometimes it would get to me and I'd just move on to some other game. So I went back to this game many times over the years. But like I said, I never finished the main quest, never explored the entire island. Also, mods. Oh my god. If you know anything about this game, you know that mods are the big thing. Especially, only on the PC, obviously. It came out on the Xbox, but there's really no point to own it on the Xbox, in my opinion. But I think I probably spent more hours downloading, reading about mods than playing the game. I think that a lot of people fall into this trap with these games. It's just insane, the amount of stuff people make. And I even made some myself, and I got into, groups that were making stuff. And you have to, eventually, you can get carried away with that to where it's just taking up all your gaming time, and you're not actually gaming. Anyways, you have to eventually pick a set of mods and just play the game. Otherwise, whatever. Otherwise, you're not going to play. But yeah, that was really my experience with Morrowind. And then it wasn't until the 10th anniversary of Arena that I played it. Arena was the first game in the series, and I forget what year it came out. Very early 90s, 92, 93, 94, somewhere around there. I think it was like 92. I don't know. Anyways, it came out. I never heard of it, never played it. Daggerfall came out in 95, I think. 96, somewhere around there. And definitely heard of that one. I definitely heard of Daggerfall. It definitely intrigued me. It has the same premise as, these later games. Explore, do what you want, etc. But by the time I'd heard of it and went to try it, I couldn't get over it. I couldn't get over the graphics or the control method at the time. But Arena, when it came out, the 10th anniversary, Bethesda released it for free. And with the help of DOSBox, that was my first experience with DOSBox, getting older games to work in Windows XP, I played that. Didn't play very much of it. I appreciated what it did for its time, but couldn't get into it. And that made me want to try Daggerfall again. And once again, I played a little bit and couldn't get into it. Yeah, that's about it for my history with the Elder Scrolls series. Now I'm going to move on to Oblivion in the next section. Hey, welcome back to present day. So, that next section I was talking about never happened. Yeah. But I'll talk about Oblivion in a minute here. As far as Daggerfall, I still want to go back to it sometime, and I have hope now that I will. And that hope is in the form of Dagger XL. It is a fan-made remake. Not a remake, it is an engine upgrade to Daggerfall. So you can run the game in higher resolutions with anti-aliasing and better textures, that sort of thing. That was probably my biggest problem with Daggerfall every time I've played it, is the jaggies, the aliased corners and lines. Oh, they give me a headache. I don't know. If I had played it back then, when it came out, it might not have bothered me. Maybe it wouldn't have gave me a headache then. Maybe the headache is purely psychological now. I don't know. But I can't play it. But Dagger XL is looking really good. It's not finished yet. But it's gotten a lot of progress so far. If you want to check it out, it's the website is daggerxl.wordpress.com, and it's getting sporadic updates, and there's a forum where there's lots of people that are already making mods for it and stuff, and upgrading the textures and things like that. So you should check it out. And at least, if you have an RSS reader, add it to your RSS feed so you can keep up with it and know when it finally is finished so you can play it properly. So, as far as Oblivion, well, I got that. Like Morrowind, I got it the day it came out. I pre-ordered again. This time I pre-ordered at GameStop. The PC version at GameStop, which was, they ended up telling me, the only PC copy they had in the store and were going to get in the store, which was very strange to me. That whole thing with GameStop really toning down PC games is... I don't want to get on that subject, but it annoys the crap out of me. Anyways, so I got the game, and I got... They had a deal because I got the collector's edition for, I think it was like $10 more. I could get the strategy guide. That thing is huge, and I got that too. But at the time when I bought it, I still had the computer that I had played Morrowind on. The one that couldn't that couldn't do the pretty water, and so I couldn't play it. I installed it, tried to. There was a mod that came out that people had made that would allow the game to play on lesser video cards that didn't have Pixel Shader 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever it was at that time. And I tried that too, but I couldn't get it to work. So I owned the collector's edition of that game for a while before I got to play it. It came with a making of DVD, which was really cool. I liked watching that. It was sort of like a mini documentary of their trip to E3 before the game came out. Their E3 demo and getting ready for it and showing it. It was really cool. I wish there was more stuff like that, like on TV or whatever. More coverage like that. That stuff it just fascinates me. But other than that DVD, I didn't have anything I could do as far as Oblivion. I read some reviews. I couldn't do anything. I looked through the book, but I didn't want to spoil the game, so I had that big ass strategy guide, and I just sort of read the first few pages, and that was about it. Then finally, I got a computer that could run the game, and I don't know. I couldn't get into Oblivion. I cannot explain this to this day why I can't get into it that much. I love that the game is fully voice acted. Even though there's only, a handful of voice actors, there's one voice actor for every race, basically. And then key characters in the main storyline have voice actors, specific voice actors. But otherwise, it's just those those handful of people over and over. And you'd hear people talking to themselves, an NPC walking up to another NPC and them having a conversation, and it's the same voice actor doing both people. It's a little weird, but it works. It's okay. And the NPCs had schedules. They went to work. They went home. They slept, and like I said, they talked to each other in the street, and that's really cool. And there were horses in the game, something that was missing from Morrowind. Horses. Everybody wanted horses in Morrowind when it came out. I didn't really care myself. But people were trying to mod in all kinds of stuff like that. Like, I remember people were trying to make riding guars. Guars are these lizard things. There's some friendly ones and some non-friendly ones in Morrowind. And people were trying to make rideable guars. And I assume they succeeded eventually, but at the beginning they were doing very poorly with that. But yeah, Oblivion, it's a beautiful game. It really is. Especially after you add a couple mods. Like, the distant landscape looks terrible without any mods. But if you get one of the noise filter mods and adjust a few different things, it looks really nice. And I don't know, something about it didn't grab me. When I first played it, I got out of the main dungeon, got to see the world for the first time when you step out of the cave. It's a great experience, and then I didn't really do anything. I've gone back to it more recently, back when I first recorded that thing that you just listened to, and I tried to play it then, and I actually played the main quest, and I got about halfway through it, and it was interesting, but still the game didn't grab me. And yet, I've played Fallout 3, which, even though it's Fallout in setting and style and tone, it is very much Oblivion in mechanics and everything else. People like to call it Oblivion with guns, and it kind of is. It's not exactly, but it kind of is. And I love Fallout 3. I've still not completed the game, but that was by choice, because I wanted to complete everything else in it. And I've almost completed it, and I play that off and on, But for some reason, Oblivion, I still can't get into it. I'm still planning to go back to it. I played it, like I said, back in January, and then I played it about a month or two ago when I upgraded my video card, and I played that for a while, and it was still fun, but something about it, I just prefer Morrowind, actually, and yet I'm not sure if I'm ever going to go back to Morrowind again. I just burnt out on that game. I wish I could, because there's still so much I never did, but it's not going to happen. I really don't see it happening. So yeah, that's about all I really have to say about the Elder Scrolls series. I know they're probably making a fifth one. They haven't officially announced it, I don't think, but you know they're going to be doing it at some point. So, I'll look forward to that when they announce it, and I'll probably get it. I probably will pre-order it and get it on release day, just like these others. Probably buy the collector's edition if I have the money, But, I don't know. Oblivion, I guess it just wasn't for me. I'm going to try to go back to it, like I said, but, yeah. So that's it as far as the Elder Scrolls series. This concludes the first episode of this podcast, and I realize the sound quality might not be quite as good as it could be, but I think it's alright. It should be okay. The theme song, or whatever you want to call it, at the beginning and end, is something I made a few months ago. I think it works okay as a podcast theme song or whatever. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the show. I don't know when the next episode will be. Don't know what it'll be about, but it'll happen eventually. Until then, have a nice day.